Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Dargy. I'm the channel account specialist here at Ingram covering Red Hat. Today we have a very special guest for the podcast. His name's Alan Cowles. Just wanted to say thank you very much, Alan, for joining the podcast today. And I wanted to start by asking you a question in terms of from what partners have told me is that many of their customers have been looking at virtualization solutions and alternative hypervisors. Can you tell me what Red Hat solution is for customers that have these kinds of questions?
Sure, Chris, and thanks for having me here. But to get to your question, Red Hat's current solution to address virtualization needs for our customers is something we call Red Hat OpenShift Virtualization. Now, you hear the OpenShift name, and I know you think containers and Kubernetes, and you're not far off there. But what OpenShift Virtualization is an included feature in Red Hat OpenShift that allows you to run virtual machines side by side with your containers. So it's based it's based on a long history of virtualization support at Red Hat,
Hmm.
based on the upstream KubeVirt project, which has been around for almost 10 years now.
Hmm.
And then that in turn is also based on KVM, the Linux kernel hypervisor, which has been a trusted source of virtualization for on-premises and cloud-based workloads for almost 20 years now. So
And so that's how would you sum up OpenShift virtualization in terms of in with a couple points?
I think it's a go-to source right now for an easy way to adapt both your legacy virtual machines that you are not ready. Like, let's say you have an application that is running on a VM.
Hmm.
And that is something that at some point in the future, I think if you're going to streamline, if you're going to modernize, you might consider running that application in a containerized environment, right?
Yeah.
But right now you're just not ready for that, okay?
Hmm.
So you have the ability to continue running that as a VM alongside the other more modern applications you have, just one platform there, right? Or you know what? Like, let's say you're just not into that at all. You're not going the modernization route.
Hmm.
It's fully supported to just continue running them as VMs forever,
Hmm.
And we make migration tools available to make it really easy to come from other hypervisor environments into OpenShift.
Hmm.
And I think honestly, it just simplifies your entire workflow to have one control plane, one management interface to do your entire estate of applications, whether they be containerized or virtualized.
Now you were mentioning the KVM Linux hypervisor. So is that part of OpenShift, and what exactly is that?
So KVM is the Linux kernel hypervisor. It's the ability to virtualize hardware provided by the Linux kernel. And of course, Red Hat OpenShift is based on Red Hat Enterprise Linux Core OS. At its heart is Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and of course the Linux kernel. So KVM, the like I said, the Linux kernel hypervisor is
Hmm.
a inherited feature from the base image in OpenShift that we get from Red Hat Enterprise Linux.
So if I'm understanding, what advantages does OpenShift virtualization have when compared to the other hypervisors?
Well, I think I kind of touched on one a minute ago.
Yeah.
I think your major advantage is having a single control plane where you can have both those VMs and the containers, coexisting in the single estate, and
Hmm.
you can manage, all of those from one login. Essentially globally, honestly,
Yeah.
because you can have your OpenShift clusters. If you have more than one,
Yeah.
and then you have a tool. We have a tool called Red Hat Advanced Cluster Management that allows you to manage a global estate of multiple OpenShift clusters. So from that interface, all of your apps, all of your VMs, all of your workloads, however they are created, however they are, exist at that time, you can just manage them easily as honestly a form of fleet management.
Hmm.
And I think if you look at other solutions where you would have virtual machines. And I mean, to be frank, the most popular deployments of OpenShift right now are virtual OpenShift clusters
Hmm.
that are deployed on top of other hypervisors. Okay. But
Wow.
what you end up having in that scenario is you have to interact with that hypervisor to manage the VM workloads. And then you have to interact with OpenShift to manage the
Hmm.
container workloads.
Right.
So by flipping that paradigm on its head and letting OpenShift be at the top of the stack, managing both VMs and containers, I think you streamline your entire experience.
Hmm. This all sounds wonderful. Are there any disadvantages or known issues that customers should be concerned with?
Um, Obviously, I don't want to like shoot myself in the foot here, but
Hmm.
I think you do have to acknowledge a few things. One, it's not going to be a rip and replace for all customers if they have a current hypervisor solution that they're using that they've built all of their workflows around. They have embedded knowledge with their sysadmins for years, doing the same workflows, using the same tools, with the same platform. Um, it might not be as intuitive. Okay, now it
Hmm.
is. It is coming along very fastly. I think very quickly. I think with a lot of open source software, you get that, right? You have a rapid development cycle.
Hmm.
People request features. Those features are implemented as tech preview, and then they're GA before you know it, right?
Hmm.
So I think you have this rapid release cycle to overcome these feature gaps and get you to the place where people can be comfortable. I think one of our definite strong suits to help us make up some of these gaps is we have a very rich um, partner relationship group where um, we work with other industry partners and their tool sets, and they are validated and supported to work with OpenShift, and they can help bridge some of those feature gaps to add enhanced features that customers may be looking for that aren't there out of the box.
Right. And do you have a recommendation if someone, is looking at it, do you recommend starting small? Like, what does the scenario look like for that?
So I think the best thing to get started with OpenShift, if you're not familiar with it at all,
Hmm.
um, you know, you can actually deploy OpenShift with like a 60-day full featured trial. And you can start out, um, if you want a highly available cluster where you can test out, virtualization and the things that you're looking for with virtualization, like live migration between nodes or dynamic scaling, things like that.
Hmm.
You can start with as little as 3 compute nodes right now. So if you've got some spare hardware laying around, um, OpenShift is very intuitively installed right now through our web-based installer,
Hmm.
uh, that you can actually bring that up. Hang on. I would like to restart that real quick. So OpenShift is very intuitively installed through our web-based assisted installer.
Hmm.
So all it takes is 3 bare metal nodes to get started with and access to the internet where you can kick off that install, and it'll take care of all the basics for you. And you can, have a fully featured cluster to play with for 60 days. Um, and you can like get your hands dirty. Outside of
Hmm.
that, there are Red Hat learning services,
Yep.
training courses that are available to help you get up to speed. So things like that, I think people can utilize to get the most advantage out of OpenShift.
And I think if I put my partner hat on here, how much does this cost? And do I have to buy all new servers?
So you don't have to buy all new servers. I'm not going to bankrupt you out the gate. Uh, But there are lists of supported servers. We have a hardware compatibility list, and essentially the baseline is if it's currently supported with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9, you will find it supported with Red Hat OpenShift.
Hmm.
The way OpenShift works for subscriptions right now is we have right now there are 4 what we call subscription tiers, and they come from uh, the specific use case of just having like virtualization as the main feature, and that's what you want to utilize,
Hmm.
and we call that OpenShift Virtualization Engine. Then there's one. The next tier up will, of course, cost a little bit more money, but it gives you that ability to have the VMs and the containers side by side. And then the next tier up is what we call, what most people are familiar with, OpenShift Container Platform, and that's VMs, containers, plus development tools and application lifecycle things. And then to go to the very top, cream of the crop, we have OpenShift Platform Plus, and that's where we bring in that advanced cluster management tool I mentioned a few minutes
Yep.
ago, advanced cluster security, where it can go ahead and scan your pods for vulnerabilities, things like
Hmm.
that. And even Quay, which gives you your own dedicated private registry. So you can keep all your own machine images, all your own application images managed yourself in a private registry. So you've got these four different tiers, and you can find
Hmm.
out honestly which one's right for you through the right subscriptions.
And this sounds like this must be one of the hottest topics from when you talk to uh, partners and customers of looking at the Red Hat stack. Would that be correct? Would you say?
I would honestly say for the past year and a half, virtualization and as part of OpenShift has been easily the hottest topic, if not just the last year and a half, but the last year and a half of my career has probably been the busiest it's been
Hmm.
addressing these types of questions. So
Wow. Okay. Well, those were all my questions today, and I think that's all the time that we have on the podcast today. But I wanted to say, Alan, thank you very much for talking about OpenShift. And if there's any questions that partners and customers have, you can feel free to reach out to myself with the link that will be included after this. Thank you.
hey, thank you, Chris.